The contrast could not be clearer. And let's also not forget that previous peace talks got blocked. We all remember Biden and Boris Johnson reportedly shutting them down, keeping the war going.
There are some in my country who would instead force Ukraine to give up large parts of its sovereign territory, who would demand that Ukraine accept neutrality and would require Ukraine to forego security relationships with other nations. These proposals are the same of those of Putin. And let us be clear, they are not proposals for peace. Instead, they are proposals for surrender, which is dangerous and unacceptable. So, President Zelensky, I look forward to our discussion today, and I will continue to work with you to ensure Ukraine prevails in this conflict and remains a free, democratic, and independent.
Take a look back at the last 3 presidential elections, and these were the results in the exit polls among Hispanic voters. That 14, look at that cut there, almost 20 points less than just 4 years ago. And 4 years ago, we were saying Donald Trump had made inroads with Hispanic voters. This suggests that that has continued apace.
What is going on?
Talking a little bit about the issues. What's the most important issue? We asked in this poll, abortion clocking in there, and Kamala Harris, big advantage. We see that being competent and effective. Kamala Harris leading there as well. But then the biggies. These are the ones that Hispanic voters are saying are the most important to them. Economy, small advantage, Trump, inflation, 9-point advantage. And how about that? On the border and on immigration, Donald Trump with a double-digit advantage, 13 points in our poll. When asked who would be better on this issue, Hispanic voters are saying it's Donald Trump. We ask a basic question of Hispanic voters, which party do you more identify with? 37% now say Republicans, 49% say Democrats. But again, look at how this has shifted in just the last dozen years. In 2012, this was a 41-point advantage for the Democrats. It has come all the way down to 12 points, Kristen, a 29-point drop.
I would, in fact, make sure that we immediately surge to the border.
Social media is just growing and growing and growing. And it's part of our problem, particularly in democracies, in terms of building consensus around any issue. It's really hard to govern today. You can't, there's no, the referees we used to have to determine what's a fact and what isn't a fact are kind of rated to a certain degree. And people go, and that people self-select where they go for their news or for their information. And you just get into a vicious cycle. So it's really, really hard, much harder to build consensus today than at any time in the...
Trump back in 2016. But I also think there are Americans who are engaged in this kind of propaganda. And whether they should be civilly or even in some cases criminally charged is something that would be a better deterrent.
They believe that she is a communist, that she is a socialist. There are these memes going around with her dressed in a Mao Zedong suit with a cat that has a hammer and sickle.
The Director of Immigration and Customs Enforcement confirms that more than 13,000 illegal immigrants convicted of murder have been caught at the border and then released into the United States.
And by the way, as the FEMA can tell you, they had pre-positioned an awful lot of material throughout that area, from the Bend all the way up into Tennessee. And so the idea that we weren't prepared, the question is, no one knew exactly how devastating it would be. We knew it would be significant, and we've got a lot already in place, but there's more. But here's the point. I'm going to be asking the American people to continue to help fund the needs of these people. It's not going to be one hit and it's over. It's going to take a hell of a long time. It's going to cost a hell of a lot of money.
For $33 billion in supplemental aid to Ukraine over the next 5 months, and pledging the U.S. is in it for the long haul.
Including today, I've announced 6 packages of significant funding. Today, I'm also signing an additional package for $225 million to help you reconstruct the electric grid. And The risk of conflict and chaos could spread in other parts of the world.
The president defending his expected Friday request to Congress, an unprecedented estimated $105 billion in security funding for Israel and Ukraine. $60 billion is said to be slated for the fight against Russia.
Think about that.
Finances to the tune of $500 million from the U.S. in direct economic assistance to Ukraine's government.
But here's the point. I'm going to be asking the American people to continue to help fund the needs of these people. It's not going to be one hit and it's over. It's going to take a hell of a long time. It's going to cost a hell of a lot of money. It's going to cost a hell of a lot of money. It's going to cost a hell of a lot of money. For $225 million to help you. For $225 million to help you.
Do you think maybe that it's possible that you are stupid?
Are there any more resources the federal government could be giving them?
No, we've given them, we have pre-planned a significant amount of it, even though they didn't ask for it yet.
Mr. President, any comments on the rising death toll?
Will you come talk about the Hawaii response, Mr. President?
Nothing.
Joe Biden became mentally impaired. Kamala was born that way. She was born that way.
Points that just jump off the screen should set off sirens. All right, this is Union House House. This is a Democratic margin in presidential election. It ain't what it used to be. You know, you go back to 1992. Bill Clinton won that Union vote by 30 points. Hillary Clinton only won it by 12 points back in 2016. That was the lowest mark for a Democrat since 1984, Mondale versus Reagan. But look at where Kamala Harris is today. She's only leading by 9 points. That would be the worst Democratic performance in a generation. 10 points off the mark of Joe Biden, who of course won 4 years ago, who was sort of that Union guy, Union Joe, right? Won it by 19 points. She's 10 points off his mark, and the worst in a generation if this, in fact, holds, Sarah. All right, the voters of color. You go back 4 years ago, look at that. Joe Biden won that group by 45 points. Look at where Kamala Harris's support is today. She's still leading amongst that group, but that lead is down 17 points to just 28 points. And I will note that the margin among voters of color who actually graduate college has only been changed by 5 points. 5 points compared to 4 years ago. The reason Donald Trump is doing so well amongst voters of color is because he has really gone in and grabbed a lot of voters that he didn't previously have among those who didn't graduate college. And this is part of a larger trend that we're seeing throughout our politics, Sarah, in which Republicans, specifically Donald Trump, is doing very, very well among working class voters, whether they were in unions, whether they went to trade school, or whether they're voters of color. The fact is Donald Trump seems to have gone into a hotbed of traditional Democratic support and made a lot of movement in ways I don't think a lot of people would have thought when he went down that escalator just back in 2015.
What's your favorite Kamala policy, sir?
Anything but that other guy.
One.
Yeah.
One. Just
okay.
One. Only need one.
You got me on the spot, but
I got you on the spot. I can't name one. He lied about everything, but I can't name one fucking thing he lied about.
Typical Trump person.
What'd he lie about, dude? Do you think maybe that it's possible that you are stupid?
This is I'm not feeling my best right now about where we are on Kamala Harris in a place like Michigan right now. We have her underwater in our polling.
And now the Democratic Party has given us a loophole around that mandate. All you have to know is 7 words, and you never have to admit to doing anything wrong again. And do you know what those 7 words are? I was born in the middle class. Oh.
You know, I'm not a politician. I'm not an expert on various issues that we're up against today, but I do feel strongly about who our leaders should be as an American citizen, and I would really like it if the discourse could become kinder and more effective, and I think that will be the case with Kamala Harris and Tim Walz in office, and because I think they are people who are for the people.
So I was raised as a middle-class kid. I grew up a middle-class kid. I believe in the ambition, the aspirations, the dreams of the American people. You know, we have ambitions and aspirations and dreams.
The ambition, the aspiration, the dream.
I started my career as a prosecutor. I was a career prosecutor for most of my career.
Having a background as a prosecutor.
I intend to create an opportunity economy, developing and creating an opportunity economy.
What I imagine and believe and call an opportunity economy.
Leaked U.S. Army CUI documents reveal warning of criminal Venezuelan organization Tren de Aragua expanding threat across New York City. The document states that Tren de Aragua has established a presence in Brooklyn, Bronx, and Williamsburg, New York. Approximately 400 TDA members live in those cities. The distribution of the CUI document comes after videos showing National Guardsmen in subway stations and establishing a presence throughout New York City.
National Guard is now all over Brooklyn, man.
Why is the Army at this hotel?
We're here at the request of the state.
It has been confirmed through the documents provided to us that Tren de Aragua, the criminal organization, has active members in Denver and have been given a green light to fire on or attack law enforcement in Denver, Colorado. HSI New York has received similar reports.
She's carambling her nonsense.
What is your economic plan moving forward for people who are living paycheck to paycheck and struggling for groceries and rent and homeowners?
So, look, I grew up, so my sister and I were raised.
Which she almost went back into that middle-class family line while wearing her middle-class $60,000 Tiffany necklace.
Look, I grew up, so my sister and I were raised by our mother. We lived for a long time in an apartment on top of a childcare center. That childcare center was actually owned by a woman with 2 more townhouses. Childcare was small business owners, small business owners. I love our small businesses and focused on small businesses. And my vision overall is we need to build an opportunity economy in which we increase opportunity for all, including small business owners. So small businesses, community, and community, what the community wants.
Meanwhile, Donald Trump is actually in Georgia, unable to work with Biden.
Have you reached out to President Biden about federal relief efforts?
No, I haven't reached out to him. No, I think he's sleeping right now.
As Biden finally returns from his beach trip.
Mr. President, why weren't you and Vice President Harris here in Washington commanding this weekend?
I was commanding. I was on the phone for at least 2 hours yesterday and the day before as well. I command. It's called a telephone. And all my security people.
Is it not important for the country to see?
Yes, he's commanding the overrun shelters running out of food with FEMA nowhere in sight. And when asked if Americans will get more support, he rejects them.
Are there any more resources the federal government could be giving them?
No, we have pre-planned a significant amount of it, even though they didn't ask for it yet.
So while the roads are destroyed in North Carolina, the streets are flooded with sand in Florida, and the homes are underwater in Tennessee, local residents are forced to fend for themselves, just like in Lahaina last year, where the locals had to jet ski in their own supplies. And the more you look into what's happening after Hurricane Helene, the more outraged you'll get at this administration. But I think their biggest sin is that they think you're too stupid to notice that they're faking everything. Just look at her VP pick Tim's Twitter post about going to a football game. He's up there cheering from his suite while nothing is actually happening on the field. Out there pointing to the fans that could literally care less about him and whatever this is. And obviously lying about a football game isn't the biggest deal, but it does make you wonder, if they have to fake everything about being a football fan, what won't they lie about?